welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on Enravio.com.
Did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Hey, we're back. How you guys doing today? General, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Hanging in there, man.
I thought I was going to go it alone here about 2 minutes ago.
You almost did. It was a late night for the Admiral last night. The band played a gig. It was a rockin' event out at Kirby O'Kane's in Bayshore, and it was a wild night. But I'm here.
Glad to have you.
I'm here, but the commish absent today. Out on family duty today, so it's just the two of us today. It's two mics and a microphone today.
I gave the commission a special assignment this morning to do some research for me. Let's see if he gets back to us during the show.
He hasn't gotten back yet?
No.
Does he realize the show started already?
Well, I mean, you know, I gave it to him kind of late in the morning here, so let's see what happens.
All right, well, hopefully he'll come through for us. All right, so let's wrap up Week 18 in baseball. We've got a couple of interesting things going on. First of all, the Major League Baseball has announced that starting in 2014, we will have instant replay.
And not a moment too soon. I mean, we have chronicled the adventures of the field umpires and the home plate umpires over the course of the season. It has been a rough, to say the least, a rough season for the Major League umpires this year.
It has. I mean, you know, we've seen some really, really bad calls, some really just unbelievable stuff from the umpires. You know, here's the way it's going to work. Each manager will get 3 challenges per game. And basically what's going to happen is they get 1 challenge up until the 6th inning, and then 2 over the final 3 innings. And as in football, if they throw the flag and they're correct, they do not get charged for a challenge. I'm going to play devil's advocate on this, though, because you know me, I'm always taking the opposite side.
Sure.
So, you know, here's how I feel about it. Number one, I'm a traditionalist. I like the human aspect of the game. You know, this is not going to have anything to do with strikes and balls, which is the biggest place where umpires are prone to making mistakes. I mean, you know, you see some horrible calls. You know, you see some guys, you know, being called safe or out at first base when they're clearly, you know, it was just clearly a botched call. And, you know, I get that. But I've always been, you know, the type that likes the human aspect of the game. The other thing about this is it's got to slow down what's already a very slow sport. You know, can you imagine this? Six challenges a game we can have? Or more if they're right. I mean, it's not going to happen in all likelihood.
Right. I get it, yeah. I mean, I get it, but you know what? The flip side to that is that if they do it correctly and they have a guy in the booth ready to go, I can see in 10 seconds whether a guy's safe or out. You shouldn't need more than a minute to figure it out. The argument alone is going to last a minute. You might as well, if they can do it quickly, get the call right.
That is a good point.
And move on. And
that's a good point.
Get the call right and move on. And that's all we're looking for, because the game, in defense of the umpires, the game is moving at rapid speed. You know, these guys can't see everything. It's better if they just get some help with it.
You know,
and the other major pro sports have done it already. So
they have.
Might as well.
They have. But you know what? You know, I guess if you remove the element of Lou Piniella kicking dirt all over the place and, you know, picking up bases and throwing them and all that other craziness, maybe it won't really cost that much more time, because if they go straight to a review and, you know, it's settled, you know, with an instant replay, maybe you have less of the, you know, and arguing and the showboating.
And you know what? I think at the end of the day, if you're getting the call correct, that's what really matters.
I agree.
Whether or not we're going to have an umpire do it or we're going to have a machine do it for him because he couldn't see it right or whatever the case may be, does it really matter? I mean, if it doesn't add much more to the time of the game, I'm all for it. I think it's time, because we're not that far away from a major blown call happening at a bad time in the 7th game of the World Series. Actually, it's already happened.
But you know
We've
what's
already
had
had these situations.
The Mets right now, if instant replay was in effect a couple of years ago, the Mets would still be in search of their first no-hitter, because Carlos Beltran's ball down the line in that game was clearly fair.
Fair ball.
But you know what?
Well, you got your human element, you got your no-hitter, and away we go.
As tainted as it is, but that's just a story of being a Mets fan. But
I like it. I think it's a good idea.
It's you know what? I'm willing to give it a shot.
Let's do it.
I'm willing to give it a shot. But you know, again, I've always been the type that, you know, appreciates, the pureness of the game. But,
Until his team loses Game 7 of the World Series because the guy didn't get the tag down.
Right. All right, let's go into Biogenesis. We've got some more interesting information going on. This is a story that will not die. As you know, we've had 13 players suspended. One is appealing. A-Rod, who is playing right now. Interesting thing about A-Rod is it's been reported by 60 Minutes that A-Rod's people, his inner circle, in February actually leaked documents that implicated Ryan Braun, his own teammate.
I don't even understand the story.
Well,
Do you understand the story?
I understand the story. I think, A-Rod is such a narcissist that if he was going down, he was taking down anybody else he could.
That's what you think the story is?
Absolutely. There's no question. He wanted to take anybody down with him as he could, to make it look like it's a widespread thing, and it is. But, he didn't want to be singled out as a bad guy, so he figured, you know what? I'm taking you all with me.
Well, if that was his strategy, that's just,
Well, he's pathetic. I've said it before. He's pathetic.
He's starting to hit, though. Though for A-Rod. Hitting the ball now.
And then we've got the Ryan Braun apology tour, which is about to, President Obama, you're not the only one on an apology tour, my friend. Ryan Braun is going to start his. And I think he's taking the opposite tack that A-Rod is taking, and he's going to go out and try to do what some of the other players have done successfully, is get out in front of the story as much as you can at this point, and apologize and hope that you've got a forgiving fan base and you're welcome back into the game. He's still young. He's still got a lot of career ahead of him, so he's going to go out there and try to apologize and get back in the good graces.
Wait a second. There's one major difference with him going on an apology tour. Any one of us can YouTube his denial tour when he had that whole press conference, when he told everyone this is ridiculous and this is outrageous and these accusations, and it turns out they were true.
Yeah. Well, supposedly what he's going to do is, first of all, admit openly that he did use steroids.
I think we should start with
when
that.
he used steroids.
Yes, we should start with that also.
But I think the apology is going to be for the lying.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing, is that he really is showing great remorse now. He suddenly found God, after all these years of lying and cheating. And you want to laugh, is I actually read that the cheating goes way back. It's not even...
Really?
Oh, my God. His college roommate came out, a teammate on his college team, I believe it was, came out and said not only used steroids in college, but he cheated in class.
Ryan.
I guess he had people writing papers for him, and I guess up his arm, he must have had all the test answers.
All right. Can we now check the SAT and everything else he did, his thesis, and I guarantee he didn't graduate anyway. So.
You know what, Ryan, you disgust me. A-Rod, you disgust me. And I can't get sued for that. I don't think. It's my opinion. You disgust me.
Listen, they haven't fired you yet, so. All right, listen, ring the bell on that one. You never know. Keep track of that one.
All right, on to more interesting sports news. The Dodgers are white hot.
They have been for quite some time.
White hot. I mean, these guys are 24-3 after last night's win since the break. 24-3.
Yeah.
And they've won 41 of the last 49 games. That's the best performance. Actually, that just broke a record for the best performance in that period of a 49-game stretch. They broke the record of the 1942 St. Louis Cardinals, who went 41-7.
If any of the Cardinals from 1942 are still out there, you guys, your record has been beaten.
So, you know what? But they pulled it together, man. I mean, and you know what? I have to say, your boy Puig really was the catalyst of that whole resurgence. I mean, these guys have just been unbelievable.
Honestly, prior to Puig's arrival, this team was listless. This team had injured players. They played like they didn't care. It looked like Mattingly was about this close to getting fired. And all it takes is for one guy to energize another 24 guys.
It's
and
contagious.
that's exactly what happened.
Hitting is contagious.
And not only the hitting, but like his enthusiasm,
yeah.
his hustle. Hanley over the years has been accused of not hustling and playing listless baseball. He was energized by Puig. Kemp, I think, was energized, but he got injured, came back, got injured again. He'll be back soon. Crawford has been playing better, although he's another guy who's like a China doll.
You know, even the pitchers, Greinke went out and pitched a gem
Everyone's
last night.
pitching. They had the brawl. Puig was in the middle of that brawl, if you remember.
Yes.
With the hit batters, with the Ian Kennedy incident. All these things together has moved this team into a different area now.
Right.
Now they are a force to be reckoned with, and they're going out there every night, and it's like, hey, just try to beat us. Just try to beat us.
41-8, folks. 41-8.
Yeah, I'm going to give them credit. I mean, with that payroll, if they weren't successful, they would have just been tortured, with $250 million payroll, whatever it is.
And where's the commish when you need him? The guy that bleeds Dodger blue on this show.
Yeah, I'm sure he's home reading his weekly Dodger magazine right now.
Wearing his Dodger jersey.
But I mean, listen.
And his Dodger boxer shorts.
They're getting everything now. They're getting pitching, they're getting speed, they're getting defense, they're getting all the things they need. In fact, their bullpen looked horrible in the beginning.
Yeah.
Now everything looks better when guys start hitting.
They are so deep right now in the pen. I mean, in addition to having Jensen, they just signed Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Who else do they have? They have 3 ex-closers, I think, as setup men, and I can't remember the name because I was out late last night.
And they've got themselves in a position now where they're going to be extremely hard to beat. I don't even know how many games back the Diamondbacks are right now or whatever, but they're going to start to run away with this thing. And we still got 6 weeks to go, but they look like they're unbeatable right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. The only thing is you hope that, if you're a Dodger fan, you hope that they're not a team that peaked too soon, and then goes into a horrible slump when it counts. Because they are just, they're unbeatable right now.
Yeah.
They're unbeatable. All right, let's get into our Man Crush segment.
All right, where's our update? How's your boyfriend doing?
Listen, Matt had a rough week. I mean, you know what? The guy gives up 4 runs on 8 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Takes the loss 4-2 against the white-hot Dodgers. And you would think, he gave up 12 runs in 2 1/3 innings,
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how people overreact. I mean, the guy's been so brilliant all season, and he set the bar so high for himself that he gives up 4 runs on 8 hits, and the world's going to come to an end.
Yeah, he didn't have good command that day. It looked like he wasn't locating like he had been. Looked like he might have been a little struggling there, a little tired, and a lot of things were happening. Listen, you can't be perfect every time out.
And you know where he's at with his innings cap for the year. I mean, he's probably, I would say, about 4 starts away from being shut down for the year.
According to a local radio host, that is not true. He is going to pitch right up until the end.
Not true.
And the difference will be that he will maybe go 5 or 6 innings versus going, say, 7 or 9 innings.
Well, the Mets are back to a 5-man rotation, and I hear they're going to cap him at 200 innings. They don't want him to go. I think he pitched 160 or so last year total. I don't think they want to go more than about 30 or 40 innings higher than last year. But if the fat man said he's going to go to the end, maybe he's right. All right, what's up with Puig?
I mean, I wouldn't even call it a slump, but 270 on the week, couple of RBIs, 4 runs scored. But again, this guy just keeps doing this. He threw out Marlon Byrd trying to advance from first to third on a single. Marlon.
With nobody out, Marlon.
I mean, are you out of your mind? Number 1, you're not even that fast. Number 2, the ball landed in the hands of Rocket Man. And Rocket Man threw you out, and it was embarrassing.
The guy has a cannon. And, I mean, it wasn't even like he was thrown from
he was in short right field.
He was in basically a pretty shallow right field.
That was a Little League throwout right there.
Marlon, let me give you you may have been exposed to this sometime in your long career, but I learned this in Little League. You don't make the first or the third out at third base. You just don't do it.
I learned in Little League, you watch the guys warm up out in the outfield beforehand, and the guys with the strongest arms, you don't run on.
You don't run on them.
And this guy here, you didn't have to watch him before the warm-ups. His throws are on MLB Network every single night, so you can watch all the throws there.
Unbelievable.
A cannon, he threw him out like he shot him, and
yeah.
But these defense is just off the charts, and that brings us to our next guy, Manny Machado, the commissioner's boy, and he made another ridiculous play last night. I mean, again, his hitting is coming around a little bit. He homered the other night.
Yeah.
But defensively, another guy made another play yesterday that he has no business making. Going to his right in foul territory and throwing a guy out with a rocket. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
I'm getting so charged up by all these guys making defensive plays that are igniting enthusiasm and helping a team win. So,
this guy has all the tools. I mean, there's no question. He's 20 years old. He has all the tools. He's going to be a great, great player for a very long time. And he's the type of guy that you're just going to see a steady progression. Every year he's going to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and in a couple of years.
Between him and Puig, it's like not even just watching it to see offensive stuff at night. Now you're watching. There's very few players you're going to see defensive highlights from on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
We're getting defensive highlights on a nightly basis for Yasiel Puig and Manny Machado.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Absolutely. All right, let's do who's hot and who's not. We're going to start off with who's hot, then we'll probably take a quick break.
There's only one guy on the planet that's hot right now.
Let me tell you right now.
This guy right
Somebody
now.
is happy to be back in the Bronx. Let me tell you, this guy has had a major resurgence since he was traded over to the Yankees, and you probably know.
It makes you wonder what would have happened if he never left. Not just any team, but like to go to the Cubs, where he basically is. The Cubs have not been an offensive team for the entire time that Soriano's been there.
Right.
But it almost makes me wonder, geez, well, if he spent the last 6 or 7 years in any other place but there, what would have happened?
Yeah.
Because the numbers he's putting up right now are shocking. I mean,
Well, here's what he did this week, and this does not count last night's game, which we'll get into, but this week, 367, 5 home runs, 16 runs batted in.
He had a homer and 4 RBIs yesterday.
Oh, please, 8 runs scored. Then he goes out last night, he hits a home run, a couple of hits, 4 runs batted in. So that's 20 runs batted in 8 games.
That's,
Or in 8 days, rather.
That's incredible.
Hello.
He's been a big shot in the arm for them, no pun intended on A-Rod, but because A-Rod's been hitting as well.
Yeah.
So between the two of them, the Yankees have actually resurged, and now people are starting to say, well, geez, can this team make the playoffs? And we beat Boston.
Possible. It's possible.
I mean, they'd have to go on a hell of a run. They need to go like 30 and 15 here over the last 45 games or so, or something in that realm to get into the conversation.
It's doable, but it's
doable, not likely.
It's a rough
but doable.
stretch. So is this going to be the first time in how many years we don't see the Yankees in the playoffs?
Well, they didn't make it in 2008.
Oh, 2008. That's
So
true.
we have one miss since 1994 was the strike year. 95 they made it. So 95 to now we have one miss. It was 2008.
Right.
Came back in 2009, won the World Series. So.
Right. Well, listen, Yankees fans, no need to line up on the bridge. If you miss this year, it's okay. It's okay. How about Miguel Cabrera?
Well, that guy's hot almost all the time anyway. But you don't, like I said, a guy like this, you almost forget when he's hitting 350 every week with 5 homers, 10 RBIs like he did this week. It's almost like ho hum. It's another day at the office for Cabrera.
Yeah. Well, the good news is he showed that he's over whatever that injury was.
The hip injury or the oblique or whatever you want to call it doesn't seem to be an issue.
Yeah. So you can feel comfortable using him down the stretch, obviously.
Absolutely.
We have Josh Reddick with a big week. 346, 5 home runs, 9 runs batted in, and 8 runs scored.
That's a big week.
That's a big week for Josh. Might be worth a waiver wire pickup if he's out there. Aaron Hill, finally, 423 this week, 3 home runs, 9 runs batted in, and 5 runs scored.
Aaron, we thought you were over the hill. Welcome back. That's good to see.
Hopefully it's all downhill from here. And then we have the 500 Club this week.
What is that, the Admiral, the 500 Club?
500 Club, we have 4 players that hit over 500 this week with a minimum of 28 bats.
Okay.
Those 4 would be Matt Holliday, Robinson Cano, Jason Worth, and Brian Pena.
Brian Pena, check your scorecards, folks. What number and what team is he on?
Well, listen, he's a catcher, too, so you might want to jump on him. But, 500 for the week, when you have a minimum of 28 bats is a nice week. Then a couple of pitches. Bronson Arroyo, 2-0 this week, 0.64 ERA, 0.43 whip, 14 strikeouts, 14 innings pitched.
Yeah, very quietly coming back into becoming a better pitcher again.
Yeah.
He's another one of these guys that goes through these periods where he stinks.
Right.
And, you forget about him almost because you don't even want to deal with him.
Yeah.
Now we're back to the Bronson Arroyo that's pitching like this. So very, very
We talked about last week a little bit about riding the hot hand.
Right.
And you
very
know what?
reliable.
He's a guy that you might, be able to get a string of starts out of, 4 or 5 consecutive starts in a row.
We'll talk a little more about that when we do playoff strategy later on in the show because he's the type of guy that you're going to have to roll the dice on because you don't really know what you're going to get.
Well, you watch the matchups, but you know what? For me, if a guy's pitching well like this, you roll with him as long as it lasts. Brandon Beachy, back to form. He came back, had a couple of rough starts in his first 2 starts. They weren't horrible. They were okay. But now he's showing the form he showed a few years ago. 2-0 this week, 1.29 ERA, 0.71 WHIP, 10 strikeouts, and 14 innings pitched.
Yeah, and usually it takes a lot longer to come back from Tommy John. Usually by the next year, the following year is when you really start to see the player get better. But he seems to be okay right now.
He does. And Anibal Sanchez, 2-0 this week, 1.88 ERA, 0.91 WHIP, 13 strikeouts, 14 in the third.
I can't figure this guy out. If we're going to start checking anyone, let's check him.
Listen, who knows?
I can't figure this guy out, but he's pitching great.
Well, here's a guy I can't figure out who's been on my squad all year and was riding the bench for quite some time, but Dan Herron. 1-0 this week in 2 starts, 2.08 ERA, 0.69 WHIP, 10 strikeouts, 13 innings pitched. He's coming off 4 really good starts in a row now.
Yeah, this is going to be a remorseful guy for me. I drafted Herron, and I sat through the entire first half of the season where this guy was a disaster. A disaster.
Yeah.
I wasn't even starting him for the last month that he was on my roster. I finally had to make a decision with him. I was like, you know what? I've had enough with this guy. I could pick up anybody off the scrap heap and get the crap he was giving me. I'll bring the ball myself. I wish I kept him. I wish I kept him because now I could use him.
It was an unlikely turnaround because he was so bad.
And the Nationals stink too.
Yeah, and he was so bad. And you were wondering, where's the Dan Herron that we all expected? And, well, now you're finally getting it. So if you have him, hold him. If you don't have him and he's out there, certainly worth a waiver wire pickup.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes on radio.com.
Stop putting it off and start painting it up today at Ben's Paint Station, featuring Benjamin Moore paints, Sickens, wood finishes, paints, and professional paint supplies, ideal for contractors and homeowners, stain paints and epoxies, family owned and operated, in business for over 55 years, professional and experienced help, located at 2 locations, 55B Route 25, Coram, Long Island, New York, and 1495 Plaza Montauk Highway, Mastic, New York. Call them at 775-7435 and 775-8135. Ben's Paint Station, featuring Benjamin Moore Paints. Log on to the Enravio advertisers page today.
Hanging with the cool kids at Enravio.com.
Hey guys, it's Missy from Backwater. Tune in every Saturday night from 7 to 9 EST for music history, musicians' birthday blocks, trivia time, and the best alternative music around. Saturdays at 7 only on Enravio.com, broadcasting to the world.
East End Screen Printing and Embroidery. Shirts for as low as $3 with print. 631-281-TEES. That's 631-281-TEES. 1355F Montauk Highway, Mastic, Long Island, New York. Go to eastendsilkscreenprinting.com for more info. Sud City Car Wash, Montauk Highway in Mastic, Long Island, New York. $9.99 early bird special Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Phone 395-6114. Sud City Car Wash. Hand washes, hand waxes, and detailing. Interior cleaning, brushless, car wash club. Simonized products. Sud City Car Wash. Montauk Highway in Mastic, Long Island, New York. Shotgun Sound Studios of New York. Professional sound reinforcements. We rent sound system 100 to 20,000 watts. Monitors, side fills, in-ear monitors, separate monitor mixes, drum mics, digital mixing consoles up to 32 tracks. JBL, EV, Behringer, Presonus. Over 40 years of experience. Shotgun Sound Studios of New York. Phone 1-800-HEY-DUDE for more info.
Hey, we're back, and InRadio.com has tickets to see the Regeneration Tour featuring Erasures Andy Bell and Howard Jones. That's this Wednesday night, the 21st at 8 p.m. at the Paramount in Huntington. Click on the contest tab to enter to win a pair of tickets. And for more information on upcoming shows at the Paramount, visit ParamountNY.com. Let's get into Who's Not Hot, and that's brought to you by the Village Music Shop of Mastic. Who's not hot, G?
Well, we have here B.J. Upton 0 for 15, but if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you were partying all night long. So you might not be able to correct me on this one, but did he or did he not hit a walk-off last night?
No, that was his brother.
That was his brother.
That was his brother.
Okay, so B.J.,
BJ.
come back to us. You're still 0 for 15.
Let me tell you, this guy from the word go has been absolutely horrible this year.
It's terrible.
Horrible. I mean, he's a guy that you don't expect a big batting average from to begin with, but you do expect 25 homers and 25 or 30 steals, and
It's a lost season.
horrible lost season. Lost season. You know, just a guy that obviously couldn't deal with the pressure that came with coming to Atlanta and playing with his brother, and the contract and the whole thing. But we have Anthony Rizzo, 3 for 25 this week. Sinshu Chu, 3.
Did you order that before the gig last night or after the gig?
Can I get some chopsticks with that? 3 for 24. Bryce Harper, 3 for 22.
You know, why? He seems like he goes into a lot of slumps. That's what I'm gathering now from Bryce Harper. Unlike
He's been a little up and down. You
Mike
know,
Trout.
He's had the injuries to deal with, but he's been a little up and down.
Yeah. How's the Flying Hawaiian doing?
The Flying Hawaiian. He's 4 for 26.
Shane Victorino.
Shane Victorino. Mark Trumbo. I think I mentioned this last week. I traded for this guy a couple of weeks ago, and 4 for 30 this week.
Nothing you can do except wait it out.
Thank you, Mark. Here's a shocker. Mariano Rivera, 3 straight low
This
saves.
is a shocker.
It's a shocker.
This is first time in his career. You know, it's amazing it's taken this long. Jim Johnson actually on the Orioles had the same scenario this week.
We're gonna get into that.
But he's only been in the league a couple of years.
Yeah.
Mariano, I don't know. What are you going to do? I mean, nothing you can do except keep running him out there.
Yeah.
So
He's, he'll get the job done down the stretch.
strange situation with the 3 blown saves in a row.
Yeah. Joe Saunders, 0-2 this week, 9.35 ERA, 2.19 WHIP. Sit him, drop him.
You could drop him.
He's another one who's just, we were talking about playing the hot hand, but, you have to also look at people that are just, in a funk right now, and that's Phil Hughes.
You could drop him too.
0-2 this week, 6.10 ERA, 1.35
Listen, there is
WHIP.
not a person on this planet that can sit at any table anywhere and make any definitive statement on what Phil Hughes is going to give you on any given night. So
Well,
if
he's
that
had
being the case,
4 really bad starts in a row.
if that's
so-
being the case, that is a drop if there ever was a definition of a drop.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you're going to start this guy on a Monday in a playoff matchup. Maybe you'd start him on a Sunday for desperation, but we'll
If
get
you're
to
desperate,
that.
but
We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Phil Hughes, we talked about. A.J. Burnett, a guy that has been consistent all year, 0-1 this week in 2 starts, ERA of 9, WHIP of 2.00. Thank you, A.J. And Samardzija is still having trouble getting it
right.
righting the ship, as they say.
Jeff, if things are completely falling apart, the Jets can use a tight end. Your career as a tight end
Listen,
is
they
well
can use a
storied.
quarterback while you're at it. But listen, things are falling apart in a big way. 0-2, 11.57 ERA, 2.46 WHIP. Guys are lining up at the bat route right now. I mean, they want their shot. All right, let's move into a quick rundown on the injury wire here. Roy Halladay pitched
God.
6 innings.
The doctor is in.
Listen, he pitched 6 innings on Thursday in his first rehab start. After the shoulder injury, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, 3 walks, struck out 4.
All right. Well,
He
now,
threw 87 pitches.
back in April, I made the definitive statement that you are not going to see Doc Holliday again this year. So now, let me see. It was in Gulf Coast affiliate, so this was probably A-ball.
It's A-ball.
My
It's
guess
A-ball.
is.
It's A-ball.
Well, all I can say is this. There's only one reason to even have him pitching right now. It's because they want this guy to make an appearance here at some point during this season. So
Right.
I'm assuming that you're going to see a start or 2 out of Halladay in September. Now, I checked the waiver wire in our league. He is still on someone's DL.
Right.
He was never dropped.
See, that's because we have a 4 player maximum on our DL. I'm in leagues where it's a 2, so guys like Halliday got dropped.
So, what am I saying? What I'm saying is that this could be a strategic pickup in your league if guys gave up on this guy in April. You know what? If he
Listen,
comes
if
back,
you're in a playoff round and you need a starter,
I'd start him before I start Hughes or some of these other guys we just mentioned. I
Absolutely.
tell you that right now.
Absolutely. Gallardo back, I think today.
I think so.
I think so. Rafael Betancourt should be activated today as well. Listen, if you have Rex Brothers, do not drop him yet. I think they're going to work Betancourt in slowly. The other thing is that Betancourt's in his last year of his contract. Rex Brothers is the very apparent closer of the future, so I think they're going to give him some save opportunities down the stretch.
Yeah.
So hold on to Brothers. This is a funny one. Dan Ugla. After I think
Dan, I knew there was a problem.
after he went hitless 4 games in a row, mid-season, he decides to have LASIK surgery.
Of course. There's an eye problem.
Let me tell you, maybe you wanted to wait until after the season to do that. I don't know. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Based upon his performance the last couple of years, obviously you're not seeing the ball.
Yeah, to say the least.
But I just thought the timing of this was hysterical. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a player get LASIK surgery in the middle of a season, especially on a contender.
Yeah.
Ricky Weeks out 4 to 6 months with a hammy injury, so we won't see him back.
And thank God we won't see him anymore.
Yeah,
You can't hit.
Yadier Molina back, thank you. Ryan Ludwig back, thank you. Cargo on the DL with the finger injury, and he's not close to coming back yet. I don't think he's looking to do any kind of rehab games or anything like that for at least a week.
Yeah, that's a tough one with the playoffs looming coming up. I'm talking about the fantasy baseball playoffs.
Right.
He's going to be a tough one. If he's not going to be around come September 1st, that could be an issue. Or if he's not playing regularly.
Right.
So.
Right. And then Matt Kemp back hopefully next week. He'll probably play about 5 games and be out again, but that's the story of his season. All right, let's get into a little closer talk here. You started to bring up Jim Johnson, and he, along with Mariano, blew 3 straight saves. Now, this guy that went 51 for 54 in save chances last year, okay? This year he's 39 for 48, has 9 blown saves, which is the most in the majors, and also putting him in the very precarious position of breaking the all-time record of 14 before the year is over. So
That's incredible.
So
but this is not an uncommon thing. We've heard this before with closers. If you remember, Brad Lidge, the year the Phillies won the World Series, right? Brad Lidge was their closer.
Yes.
Lidge was like ridiculous. I forget the numbers now, but I think he was 50 for 50 or whatever it was.
And in the next season?
Next season, he was horrendous.
Horrendous.
And this is why Mariano Rivera is such an oddity, such an outlier type of a statistical anomaly, because
the consistency.
It doesn't happen for that many years in a row where a guy is that good.
Name any modern day closer that's lasted that long.
They aren't out
without
there.
losing his job, without getting traded, without getting dropped, without getting.
I
there aren't many out there.
I bet the average life expectancy of a closer is probably, I'm just guessing based on my knowledge of the game, I'm going to say it's less than 3 years.
I would agree.
And for this guy to be out there for, what is he, better part of 17, 18 years now, it's just unbelievable. But look what's happened with Jim Johnson. He went from, hey, this guy's phenomenal to this guy stinks.
And Mariano could do it for another couple of years if he chose to. He's choosing not to.
Oh, by the way, K-Rod got hurt last night.
Oh, I was actually going to say you might want to pick up K-Rod, but he got hurt.
That leaves you down to a choice of
Maybe
possibly Tommy
Hunter.
Hunter or whoever else is in that lineup that
Wow.
might be a closer candidate. Because I don't think Buck's going to put up with that much longer, because in the middle of all this, very quietly, the O's are alive and well.
Yes.
In that wild card race.
They are.
So,
I'll tell you, with K-Rod getting hurt, he may have to stick with Johnson for a while.
Yeah.
All right, anybody on the waiver wire this week?
Well, I mean, we've got a couple of interesting guys you've got here. Sonny Gray had a good week. He's pitched well. Don't know where he's going to become September, but for the A's, it seems like every pitcher the A's brings up pitches well.
You know what?
You know?
He's a top prospect in their organization. He was 1-1 this week with a 1.29 ERA, 0.86 WHIP, 14 strikeouts in 14 innings. I say jump on him right now, and ride that until you should no longer ride that.
Yep, I would agree with him. Alex Cobb, back from the injury.
And surprisingly good in his first start back.
Was pitching great when he got hurt. He came back and he picked up where he left off. I'm
Yeah.
assuming he would have been most guys' DL. I don't think he would have been released, but you never
In
know.
most cases, probably not, but he won his first start back, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts.
Yep.
He was a guy that I thought might have that psychological thing to overcome. When you're hurt like that, sometimes you are hesitant, or you got that in the back of your mind, but this guy jumped right back in.
Absolutely.
Here's a guy that I saw pitch the other night and was really impressed. Tyson Ross for San Diego. 1-0 this week, 1.29 ERA, 0.93 whip, 14 strikeouts, and 14 innings pitched. This guy's reeled off 4 really good starts. Okay, he started the year in the pen, and since they made him a starter, has been pretty close to lights out. And I watched him pitch the other night against the Mets, and he's got some good stuff. Throws really hard, really unorthodox delivery. Great breaking pitches. He's a big guy. He's like 6'6".
Now, well worth the waiver pickup.
Pitching in a great park. I say jump on him. You might be surprised down the stretch. Ryan Ludwig back, not making any noise, but he's back. Here's an interesting one with Weeks out. We got Scooter Gannett.
Now, the thing with Scooter, all right, now he's not the original Scooter, all right? The original Scooter was Phil Rizzuto, but this guy, the thing with him, all right, he's hitting home runs. He hit 2 homers the other night and everything else. If you look at his minor league numbers, this guy is not a home run hitter.
First of all, he's about 5'2".
He's not. Yeah, this is more of a
I think he weighs like 135 pounds.
Eddie Goodell is laughing at him right now somewhere.
Hey, listen, 450 this week, 3 home runs, 6 runs batted in.
And not much available at the second base position where he qualifies. Probably worth it if you need take a shot. So
yeah, I would say so. Brandon Belt. Finally,
this guy is now becoming the hitter that we kind of suspected he was going to be at
it's
some
360 this week, 3 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and 6 runs scored. I was jumping all over this guy after the spring that he had. You remember the spring that he had this year?
You know what it is? He never, even last year, we never saw the power. He actually, by the way, had a big hit last night. I don't know if you saw the highlights. Had a big triple up the gap. So he's still hitting.
Yeah.
And now we're getting a little bit of power out of him. He could have cracked 20 homers this year.
Yeah.
So
amazing. And then we speculated that Xander Bogaerts might be called up to play third base for the Red Sox. It turns out they're giving Middlebrooks another shot.
yeah.
And he's responding. He hit 389 in his first 5 games back. So, he's out there, I'm sure. If
He
you
is
need a
out
third
there.
baseman, you may want to take a crack. So,
Absolutely.
certainly worth a try. I think we have a phone call. Hold on a second.
Are you plugged in there?
It was plugged in, and it fell out, but we're going to get Chris to come over and give us a hand here. We have Hondo from Port Jefferson Station.
Frank Howard's calling?
Listen, I've seen Hondo. He looks a little bit like Howard. All right, we're going to take Frank right now.
And line 4, and away we go.
Hello, Hondo.
Hey, Admiral, this is Hondo from Port Jefferson. Hey, General, how are you?
We're doing well today, Hondo. How you doing?
Pretty good. Listen,
Are you the same Hondo that I saw down at Kirby O'Kane's last night?
Today to talk about the week.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay. It's a fact that since he came to the Dodgers, they've been a different team. So I basically have these 4 questions for you. One,
4
do
questions?
you think he
4
single-handedly
questions.
saved Manly
Show's
Job?
almost over.
Do you think he's an MVP candidate or a Rookie of the Year candidate? And if you're playing in a keeper league, do you keep this guy on your team for next year?
Okay, first of all, he's not an MVP candidate. There are other guys that just had, long, play full season.
I disagree.
All right, well, listen, you know what? I mean, I've seen crazier. Is he a keeper in a keeper league? Without question. Without question. I mean, this is a guy that, you're gonna build your team around. He's a guy that, at his age is going to be on your team for could be the next 10, 14 years. I mean, he fits into the category of, the Bryce Harpers, the Mike Trouts, the Manny Machados. When you've got a young talent like that and you're in a dynasty league or a keeper league, you're building your team around him. Tell us why you disagree about the MVP candidate.
Like I said, I mean, my first question was, I think he saved Don Mattingly's job. That franchise was doing nothing this year until he brought up, and all of a sudden now they're major contenders.
Yeah.
And he single-handedly is saving that organization this year.
Listen, I think, what do you think, Chi?
About Puig?
About Puig and any chance of winning an MVP?
There's no chance of him winning an MVP. None whatsoever.
I agree.
He's a great story. He's energized the team. He's energized the league. It's a phenomenal story. But at the end of the day, when they vote for the MVP, it's not going to be Puig. The numbers aren't going to stand up to numerous guys in the league.
I think he'll get some votes. No, I don't think he'll get any first-place votes, but I think he'll get some votes, and I think he'll make a showing.
Yeah.
Because you're right, Hondo. I mean, he definitely energized that team. He saved Mattingly's job. If the Dodgers do anything in the postseason, they have him to thank. They really do. And I see your point. I definitely see your point.
Yeah, he's not going to be MVP.
Okay.
He won't get any votes,
I think you answered my question. Right out. I mean, you said he's not. You said he's not going to win it, but then you just said he's a candidate. He's going to get some votes.
He'll get some votes. He'll definitely get some
and that
votes.
was pretty much my question. Okay.
All right, Hondo, listen, man, thanks for calling in. Have a good day,
There's not
bud.
much to talk about my team. It's like a cast of the land of misfit toys. But the interesting on my team is I have Cano and Pedroia on my team, and Cano's in a contract year. I mean, you think that Cano is worth more money than Pedroia because, if I look at my stats on my team, Pedroia is a big contributor, and I think he's a better teammate. What are your thoughts on that?
You hear that?
Dustin Pedroia?
Dustin, I'm just to be fair, I heard most of what you said, but I didn't get the crux of the question.
I'm asking you to compare. Cano's in the contract year, and Pedroia just signed a contract for like $14 million. And I think all Yankee fans are, clenching their butt cheeks right now. Just waiting to see the numbers that this guy's going to be offered by other teams.
So you're waiting. Yeah, your question is basically, does Cano deserve the same type of contract?
He deserves more based on production.
Cano deserves more.
Yeah, he does. There's no question. And I think Cano is going to be a hot commodity.
The problem is that Dustin Pedroia is so grossly overpaid that it's going to affect the contract that the Yankees offer to Cano.
Yeah, well, what Cano should do is send Pedroia a thank you note right now because he probably increased Cano's value by about 20%.
Yeah, I would. If I was his agent, I would say, well, he's making $189 million. I'd like to get double that since I'm double the player, and see where it goes from there.
You know what? And you know what's going to drive up Cano's price even more is
Jay-Z?
There will be competition. I mean, he's going to be a hot commodity, and as with any commodity, it's going to drive the price.
Hey, Hondo, stay tuned for our playoff strategy coming up in a few minutes because you can use all the help you can get. Believe me.
All right, brother. Thanks for calling in.
Like I said, I just used USA Today to help me out with my playoff
USA
strategy.
Today.
USA Today.
What the hell do they know about anything?
I'm sitting pretty good right now in 7th place, and there's about 4 teams, in a dogfight for those last couple of positions.
Listen, last time I looked, you were in a very precarious position, my friend. But you hang in there because you have a good shot this year. The Admiral and The General are rooting for you.
Yeah, we're pulling for you.
All right, listen, thanks for the call.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great show.
You too, thanks. All righty. Thank you to Hondo. All right, so on the farm, there's really one guy to talk about right now.
Yeah,
and
just
I'm
to
gonna
save time.
throw this to you.
Yeah, we'll save time. We'll throw one guy out there. And I gave the commissioner a special assignment this morning since he's not with us. He has responded to me. Here's the bottom line. George Springer, right? This is Houston Astros. He's on the AAA Oklahoma City Redhawks. Here's where we're at. Year to date, he's 304, 34 homers, 99 RBIs, 38 stolen bases. The on-base percentage is 414. For all you people that talk about his strikeouts, who cares? He's 1.025 on the OPS. He's had 437 at-bats, not 600, 437 at-bats. He's walked 75 times. Now, the question has been raised by me. I'm the only one that seems to be raising these questions every week. He's got 15 games to go, and a legitimate shot in the minor leagues is a legitimate shot at a 40-40 season. I don't think it's ever been done. So
I don't think it has either.
I turned on the commissioner, since you're not here today, Commish, I said to him, listen, you got to get on this. So the crack researching staff, no, not the staff on crack, the crack researching staff of the commissioner, and commissioner has gotten into this and said that the best he can come up with is that Andrew Jones in 1995 had 34 homers and 30 stolen bases in the minors. And
you know how many at-bats that was?
I don't, but that he said that he can count on one hand the number of guys that have hit over 40 homers in a season in the minor leagues. So,
Right.
long story short, I don't think it's ever been done, and if it has been done, it's very rare. So this guy should be in the major leagues in the very near future. Certainly, the last game that Red Hawks play is on August 31st. The next day, the roster's expanding the majors.
Yeah.
He should be in Houston on September 1st.
I think so, and you want to pick him up at this point, just as a speculative pickup because, there's no value to him going 40-40 in the minor leagues. I mean, nobody cares, for the most part, but statistically at least. But, if he gets a call up on September 1st and gets any kind of regular playing time, and he should, this guy could be, Puig 2 down the stretch. I mean, you can't argue the numbers. The one thing that they keep talking about with this guy is a high strikeout rate. But you know what? If the on-base percentage is .414, who cares?
Doesn't matter.
You look at a guy like Adam Dunn. When Adam Dunn was hitting, regularly hitting 270 every year, but he had an on-base percentage of 4 and change, and he was hitting 40 homers every single year.
Right.
Who cares how many times he strike out?
I agree. And as a footnote to that message I just read that the commissioner gave me, I think the commissioner might have given me Andrew Jones's major league numbers. Because that sounds like what he did in 1996 when he came up with the Braves, not his minor league numbers. So we'll check that.
Mish will have to.
But in the minor leagues, it's probably, my guess is it has never happened. And then we'll find out if it does happen.
I can't see how.
Usually guys don't stay in the minors that long. If they're hitting, they come up.
Right.
So.
Right. All right, so we're going to throw a little new segment in right now. We have a couple of minutes left. We're kind of winding down the season already in fantasy baseball. If you're in a rotisserie league, you're basically, trying to pile up the stats, and there's a certain amount of strategy to it. But if you're in a head-to-head league, the strategy is imperative at this point. You're probably either on the cusp of making the playoffs, or you may have already qualified for the playoffs, or you're close. But strategy for the next weeks, several weeks, to ensure a playoff spot is really crucial. And then when you get into the playoffs, if you're in a daily league, if you're in a head-to-head daily league, you better be on your game. You better be watching your roster. You better be watching what your opponent's doing.
Absolutely.
And there are things you can do.
And the thing is that at this point, if you're struggling to make the last playoff spot, you qualify as you're in the playoffs right now because you're trying to get in. So your playoff strategy should be in play right now. And if you're already in the playoffs and you're just waiting for September 1st to come around, then you can use the strategies as well.
Right.
I have a couple of points here. If you're pitching weak, let's just say you're pitching weak and you're hitting strong, but your pitchers maybe aren't as good or can't match up with your opponents that week. It's one of those things where if it were me and I had a roster of maybe 6 or 7 starting pitchers and 3 closers or whatever, you pick the best 4 matchups for the 4 pitchers that you have. And I mean team they're playing and how well they've pitched. That's how you determine if the guy is worthy of a start. So rather than throwing everyone out there and just saying, okay, here's all my pitchers and let them destroy your week, pick the best 4 matchups and just stick with it. Look, if you sit a guy and he goes out and goes 7 innings and strikes out, okay, well, you know what? Then that's what you're going to have to live with. But
and we're talking about a league where you may have a minimum innings threshold to reach.
Most leagues are going to have some kind of minimum where 30, 35.
So what you're basically saying is, if you feel like you don't have a good pitching staff or you don't have a good matchup in terms of your own pitching staff against your opponent, take your 4 or 5 best matchups, meet the minimum innings threshold, and hope that you
see where you are.
Well, hope that you can get categories like ERA and WHIP and maybe losses, and if you've got a good bullpen, you'll get saves. Maybe you want to throw away wins or you want to throw away strikeouts that week and hope that, if you can get 4 out of 6 categories and your offense does well, you're going to win.
Right, and the other thing you can do is if you look at the week before it starts and you see that just the way it worked out, your opponent has 10 starts and maybe your pitchers only have 5 or 6. Well, that immediately discounts you from the counting stats, which would be wins, strikeouts, losses can go either way. So if that's the case, you have to make a decision yourself. Do I want to try to chase counting stats when I have 5 less starts than he does? That means I got to pick up 5 players to do that.
Yeah.
So you have to think about what you want to do. The other thing you could do is also look at the schedule coming up in that week and see who's going to be available to pitch on the waiver wire on Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
Preferably the late games, the 4 p.m. and the 8 p.m. games.
Well, that 8 o'clock game on a Sunday
is
key.
key.
It can be golden.
It is key because the whole thing could be over except you need 3 strikeouts or you need 1 win or you need whatever.
Or you may be in a situation where you don't use that guy at 8 o'clock because you know what?
You already locked it up.
You already locked it up, or you're afraid that, if he has a really bad outing, you might flip a couple of categories, the other way. The other thing, too, is if you're in a weekly lineup league, in terms of pitching, your strategy really needs to be, looking at who's getting 2 starts that week. Because I'm in a league where if you're not getting at least, they have 4 starters a week. And if you're not getting at least 2 guys that have 2 starts in that week, you're probably going to lose. You're probably going to lose. Because if your opponent has 2 more starts than you do, you're probably going to lose.
Yep.
What else you got?
Oh, the other thing I would just mention about your weak pitching staff. I mean, listen, if you've got Matt Harvey and Hugh Darvish and Clayton Kershaw, you're not really worried about this conversation. But most of us don't have that kind of a pitching staff. Don't start that marginal guy on Monday. Right. It doesn't pay in the long run.
Put yourself in a hole on day one.
Unless he's matched up with the Padres, or if he's matched up
San
with
Diego, or the Marlins,
right?
Or
one of these matchups.
Mets.
That's you can take a flyer there, but even then, I would be very careful. But don't start your week off with a bad pitcher on a Monday or a Tuesday. You save that guy as a counting stats guy for Sunday. If he's starting on Monday, it's likely he would have started on Sunday again.
Right.
Save him for a counting stats guy, or save him for a guy you're going to drop, and you're going to later on go ahead and pick someone up to replace that guy on the roster.
Yeah.
So don't blow your week up before it even gets started with an early bad pitcher on a Monday. So now your ERA is sitting at 6.08.
Right.
And your opponent is at 1.32.
You know what? You don't want to start the week in a hole.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
The other thing you want to watch if you're in a daily league is try to pick up a couple of players that are available at more than one position. Because here's the deal, folks. You've got games during the week where there are off days. You've got players that just sit for whatever reason. You don't want to be in a position where your opponent has a full lineup and you don't.
Yep.
You don't want to stick in, and we talked about this, you don't want to stick in a guy that's likely to go 0 for 4 just for the sake of having somebody in there. But in all cases, you want to try to have enough depth on your bench that there's not a day during the week where you're down 2 or 3 hitters.
Right, and to your point, if you look at the schedule upcoming for your own team, click on Tuesday, click on Thursday, see where you're at with those.
Plan in advance.
For all you know, you've got 1 guy playing on Thursday, and your opponent has 8 guys playing on Thursday because his teams don't have off days.
Right.
You may have to make a decision because if you're already behind by Thursday in the counting stats for the offensive categories, maybe you drop 2 pitches you decide you're not going to use. Pick up 2 hitters that are playing that day, whoever they may be.
Absolutely.
And get them in there for the counting stats. Now, they might go 0 for 4, but the point is you have
You
options.
look for a matchup.
You have options.
But you know what? You don't want to lose your week because you were, by 2 runs in the run category, or that's not why you want to lose, because you were outmanned.
Hey, and there's
I
agree, and there's no reason to start a guy. If you've got a guy, let's say your catcher is 3 for his last 35, and he's facing Matt Harvey, and then the next day he's facing Greinke. Well, you don't have to start him either.
Yeah.
You're almost asking for an 0 for 8. So what's
Right.
the point? Use your head. I mean, you can go ahead and say, you know what? I'm gonna roll the dice here that he's not gonna do enough. See, if your team averages 280, 290, or 300, and this guy goes out and goes 1 for 4, he hurt you.
Yeah.
He hurt you.
Unless you're way ahead, and like if you're in the lead by a considerable margin in average and maybe on base percentage or whatever stats categories you use, and you've got some wiggle room, then you throw him in there and hope you get a run or 2 out of the guy, or a couple of RBIs, or maybe he has a home run or
Yep.
whatever. Then it makes sense to do that.
The other thing, too, is you can't make some of these decisions at the last minute. Like, if you have used up, again, I'm talking desperation scenarios, you're in a close matchup, tight matchup, and you need maybe a couple of hits or a couple of homers or whatever, you might want to think about picking up a player on, say, a Friday dropping a pitcher that's already pitched in the week who will not pitch again, a starting pitcher, and have that guy sitting on your bench. Again, if he's a 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock start guy, or maybe he's a 2 o'clock start, doesn't matter. You need a couple of homers, and maybe your guy's a scratch that day. Or you don't have a replacement for him.
Well,
a
that's
lot
the
of
other
scenarios
thing.
can play out.
You have to manage your team down the stretch and into the playoffs. Don't be the guy that doesn't check his lineup at 6:45 to see who's on the bench.
Yep.
And don't be that guy.
We've had numerous, in our years, we're doing this, over 10 years now?
Yeah.
We've had numerous situations where a matchup has gone down to one at-bat by one player in the last inning of the night game.
8 o'clock
It's come down
on
to
Sunday night.
the last pitch or the last pitchers, last couple of innings, and it's turned a category and it's turned people's seasons on one play. So now, if that guy's not in lineup or he's not playing, you're not going to have the opportunity to even make a decision. So you've got to leave yourself those options. You may not use the player, but at least have the guy ready to go if you need him.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you can have, a backup at every position, and the way you're going to do that is you're going to have a couple of players on your team that are utility guys that are, eligible at 2 or 3 or 4 even positions. Have a backup catcher on your roster. Why, as long as they're, reasonably good hitting catchers, why have at least 2 games a week where you have, the empty position at catcher?
It's more likely with the catcher position because there aren't a whole lot of guys out there that qualify at catcher that are going
Right.
to play. It's more likely you're going to end up dropping a player and picking up that team's backup for your catcher.
Right.
He's playing on Sunday. Your catcher is sitting day game after a night game.
Right.
That's the way it's going to go down.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up picking up that player if you listen. It's not like these guys hit that well either. But the thing of it is, if you're behind in certain categories and you say, look, if this guy hits a straight home run, it'll help me.
Listen,
That's
if
what you're looking for.
if it's Sunday and your catcher's sitting,
There's
and
nothing worse than sitting there at home and you don't have and you're one player short of trying to turn this playoff round around, and you can't do it because you don't have a player available.
Yeah.
You don't want that,
So what else you got? We have a couple of minutes left.
I think that was pretty much it.
Okay.
I guess the bottom line is that you get yourself into a position where you're actually managing the team and not just running a roster out there every week.
Don't be lazy.
Because what happens is we get very into the whole season long. We just put our roster out. We don't look at it every day, this and that. Well, now you kind of have to look at it every day because now you're going to be making decisions on a daily basis about what, and it's going to matter on Thursday, and it's going to matter on Tuesday, it's going to matter on Monday. Every day is going to matter this time.
Yeah.
So.
And, just a couple of guys to throw out there for this week, they're getting 2 starts. Chris Medlin's been pitching better now. He's got a first start this week against the Mets. Second start at St. Louis, which is a little shaky, but pitching in 2 good parks. Great start against the Mets.
This is the one you want, the waiver pickup one right now. Chris Rusin.
Yeah.
He's going against Washington, who can't hit,
And
San
at
Diego,
San Diego.
and they can't hit in that ballpark.
Yeah.
That is a waiver wire 2-start special right there. If you're in a
Yeah.
playoff matchup this week, roll the dice and take your shot with Rusin. Cubs don't score any runs, but this guy's pitched well his last time out. Take a shot with him.
Yeah. Jared Weaver, 2 great starts this week against Cleveland at home and then at Seattle. Who else?
There aren't a whole lot of good ones.
Yeah, you
here.
know what? There aren't a whole lot of good ones.
I think I'd pick the winner out.
Yeah, I think that probably
Chris
is.
Rusin.
Yeah,
That's the one you
probably
want.
the winner.
You can't even make a case for any of these other guys because they all have one matchup that's not in their favor. Pelfrey's starting twice this week. Who's pitching against him?
He's at Detroit for the first game. I'm not going there. He's at Cleveland.
No, I want the one pitching against Pelfrey.
Oh.
Anyone pitching against Pelfrey, grab him.
Kyle Gibson against the Mets and against Cleveland.
He's going against Danny Salazar in one of those
Going against
matchups.
Danny Salazar and Dylan Gee. Or G, rather.
Who's Jose Fernandez is pitching against Ryu and Manship from Colorado. Jacob Turner's going against Capuano and
That's not
Jorge
bad.
De La Rosa. It's not bad, but Miami stinks. Dodgers are hot. Colorado hits. Not a great scenario.
Both home games.
Yeah.
All right, that's about it then.
Yep.
All right, listen, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on radio.com for the General and the Commish in his absence. Thank you to Christine and Tom behind the glass. Great job again. And we'll see you next week on Code Red.
See you next week.